AI meeting summary
Yeah.
automatically generate. Oh, I
Which one is that you're reading?
it's right here. It's right down here at the bottom. It says summary, and
Oh yeah.
it's like a staple icon, which is strange.
Yeah, they're trying so hard with this.
Man, it's morphing into a damn cockpit panel now. I'm getting lost. I was just trying to make sure my camera was the right camera. The original two icons, right?
I
Talk and
know.
be seen,
Yeah,
you know.
talk and mute. What happened to those?
Speaking of being seen, you started the recording and I was up here looking into the camera. I'm like, man, I'm shiny under this light. I look at all shiny, like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
came
you
from
got that sheen on you.
Sheen, Sheen, Afro Sheen. But it was
Well,
either this or it was the lights that are behind me, and so I look like I'm in witness
oh,
protection
oh,
sometimes
okay.
because of the light going up and down. So at
Yeah.
least this is stable. That's okay
Oh,
because
okay,
this is
nice.
mostly an audio podcast anyway. So
That's true. Yeah, the video is just kind of like whatever.
yeah, whatever. How's it going, man?
Man, it's good, man. It's
Okay,
definitely
now look, I read your newsletter.
yeah.
Y'all are in a double pass tsunami like
Yeah.
a month ago or something like that.
Oh man, it was almost 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
And you see what
Dang.
had happened was this is the reason why we haven't done this. I haven't reached out because yeah, early August, the first weekend of August, it's almost 2 months ago now. Yeah, we had a really nasty typhoon come through
Mm,
down here, and
hmm.
it had us for a week. It came, and for three
Yeah.
days we lost power. And bro, the typhoon, I swear, it was, I'm not even exaggerating. I exaggerate a lot, but I'm not gonna exaggerate with this. It was so strong. Our building is solid concrete. Our
Yeah.
building was shaking.
Wow.
Shit was
Dang.
shaking. Yeah, we could
Dang.
feel it like just sitting in the living room. It was just like it was just
Oh,
like
dang.
giant hands were just like, "Are you dizzy
So,
yet?"
I guess it brings sound with it, right? Like it
Oh
waves
God,
crashing
it
and stuff.
sounds like yeah, it's waves. It sounds like, in the balcony in
Yeah.
our place is like a wind tunnel. So it just sounds like this.
Um.
It you try to sleep. It's just banging on this. There's an
Oh
escape
no.
ladder that has a
Yeah.
hatch, and it's just banging all night. Just
No.
metallic banging, just like, in
Oh
the wind will
no.
toss it open and it will slam it closed. Toss it open, slam it closed. And it just
That's
does this
oh my
for
God.
the entire duration of the storm.
Oh man.
And so actually the first pass wasn't as bad because from it was coming from the southwest of the
Hmm.
island. So meaning like it was hitting like the good side of our
Hitting
house.
the
Like it wasn't
land
too
and
bad. Like
yeah.
the way it wasn't really affecting us. But I swear I was telling Joanna, this shit was weaponized. If you
Wow.
watch the path, like most of the typhoons that hit over here, they kind of do like
Yeah.
this kind of sucker punch type thing. Like they'll
Yeah.
come up and then they'll kind of curve like that. This
Yeah.
one went and it went straight back. Like, oh, I forgot
Wow.
something over at the Pacific Ocean. I gotta go get it. It was headed for China, and it said, oh, I gotta go back. I forgot my keys. Uh, I can't leave without them. I can't go to China without them. And it turned out it wasn't
Wow.
trying to go to China. It ended up going to Korea, like nearly full
Oh.
strength,
Oh,
which is rare.
wow.
Rare. It got all the way up
Dang.
through there. So it took this really weird path. So
Dang.
we lost power the second night of the storm. And
Yeah.
then a day goes by where it lifted up, because what'll happen is basically the entire island will lock down. Like the
Yeah.
Japanese, it's a bad storm when the Japanese shut down. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's not that bad, they're still going to work, they're still doing their thing. But for us being military, we have notifications that basically says, "Hey, you are not to leave your house." Like it's like a mandated
Wow.
order because it's just not safe, and there's really no reason to,
Yeah.
because everything's closed. It's
Yeah.
super dangerous outside. Like blades of grass become like glass. And I
Wow.
know this because my dumbass, like not this time, but last time I was here, I
Yeah.
went out like right after or right before a typhoon. I can't remember. I went
Yeah.
out for a run or something, and it was definitely still like not very safe, even though they
Yeah.
had let us up. And it was like, damn, if you took one blade of grass, you were like, shit, like one blade, like, and
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. And then stuff's flying around. Like this storm, like there was a giant tree next to Joanna's office. It was knocked
Yeah.
down. This tree was 100 plus years old. It was
Dang.
thick. The tree
Yeah. Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
destroyed.
Dang.
Somebody told me there was a moped and a power line. This one, we actually there was a fatality here. Like,
Oh man.
they'll have because a lot of the structures are made of concrete, but they have a
Yeah.
lot of these farm sheds and stuff that are just ramshackle.
Oh.
They just put a
y-
tin roof over it, and you're
Yeah.
good on most days. But it had just like put a fist through some of
Oh,
these and just
dang.
collapsed them. Yeah, this
Wow.
storm was really bad. So when it came through
Yeah.
the second time, it was coming from the opposite direction, which was worse for us because we had a swing on the front balcony. That shit got destroyed because
Oh.
it just couldn't take it. It
Yeah.
got
Yeah. Yeah.
destroyed. And then it's just throwing water at the windows. And the other problem that you don't think about unless you've been in one of these somewhere out here is flooding.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we're on the second floor, so it's really a risk when you're on the first floor. But when there's so much water, because water is basically flying sideways, it's not falling
Mm.
down, it's falling like this, like horizontally. So it's just coming
Hmm.
in. Any little cracks, any crevices, that means windows, doors. A lot of the doors are designed to take like a buffeting,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of the windows, it's window, it's supposed to open. So water
Yeah.
starts coming in. We're putting towels down. Even our door was getting saturated. And then you got to worry
Wow.
about mold because then you don't have any power. You got no way to get the humidity out. So yeah, it was just a bad time. So anyway,
Dang.
the storm happened. And so we find out we're in recovery. The storm's finally gone. We're like, hey, let's turn on the internet. Internet's not working.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, what's wrong with the internet? So we didn't know what was wrong. So we were just like, okay, I'm just going to use phone data. Well, I ran out of phone data.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Yeah.
unlimited data, but it turns out unlimited means unlimited, but not at full speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, this was in my newsletter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my phone was basically shit. It was a brick for a month. They were like, yeah, your cycle ends September 13th. It is August 21st. Or it
Mm.
was like almost mid-August. It was like right after my previous billing cycle ended. So I was like, uh So yeah, that was a huge pain, man.
Wow,
Huge pain,
man.
like having no internet because all this momentum that I'd gained over the summer doing creative stuff, I was doing videos and all this other stuff. I
Yeah.
basically lost it because I couldn't put stuff out for a month.
Yeah.
And then so that we finally got on their schedule because basically the typhoon went up north and hit the main part of Japan. So
Hmm.
you should have seen their map. They had this map of people that had outages that they showed us,
Wow.
and it
Yeah.
was like any place that the storm had passed,
Yeah.
there were hundreds of outages
Dang.
for internet. So they were like, yeah, you're down there in Okinawa. It's going to take us a minute to get to you. They said it could be 2 weeks to a month,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was a month.
Oh, wow.
And so they called us right before we we were scheduled to go to Singapore
Yeah.
and go on vacation, Singapore or Maldives, at the beginning of this month. And
Hmm.
so right before we left, they were like, "Hey, we can fix it next week." I was like,
Hmm.
"We're not going to be here next week." Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, okay, we'll contact you. So I'm
uh-huh.
literally in Singapore
Yeah.
and they call me.
Uh.
They're like, "Hey, we can come fix the internet today. Are you at home?" No, I'm not. I'm in another country right now. They're like, "Oh, okay. Well, when do you get back? I was like, okay, I get back on the 18th. Oh, okay. Well, we'll call you. Oh, actually, it's not the 18th. It's the 19th. 18th is a Japanese holiday. So, yeah. I was like, okay, this is
Okay,
just pure
okay,
comedy.
guys.
This is just
Yeah,
pure
yeah,
comedy at this point. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
actually, before that, they had come over and I thought they were going to be able to fix it. And then they looked at the
Uh-huh.
situation. And you know, when people are supposed to fix something and they start getting on the phone and going outside, that it's
Uh-huh.
not going to get fixed.
Oh.
And the guy came
Yeah,
over and was like, I'm sorry. Like, and this is all in Japanese, by the way.
yeah,
I'm sorry, but it's 大変だね. It's not good.
yeah.
It's broken. And then he came and showed me it was literally the line that provides internet
Yeah.
was gone
Oh,
to our house.
okay.
And he's like, we're
Ah,
gonna need a crane we need a truck to fix
wow.
this.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to tell you about the parallels over here. Keep
Yeah.
going, keep
And the
going.
trucks were all occupied or whatever.
Yeah.
So finally, just earlier this week, we got back, called them, the truck's waiting, they fix it. And I swear to God, man, this dude must have bowed because I told him, I said, 1ヶ月半 setsuzoku nai. Like a month
Mm,
and a half, no
yeah.
connection to internet.
Yeah.
This dude
Yeah.
bowed like a dozen times. He
Wow.
was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is, please check it. Please check it. And I checked it and I was like, yeah, it works fine. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then
Wow.
his partner came in and I told him the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, month and a half, no internet. And he was like, oh,
Yeah.
so sorry for this. This is
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
finally got fixed and now I'm back on. But yeah, man, if anybody's
Wow.
wondering, hey, where the hell have they been? That's basically what happened. I haven't been able to get on Zoom at all. I've been
Yeah.
budgeting all of my data. I haven't had
Wow.
access to Wi-Fi. I could barely load emails. I could barely read emails
Dang.
previously. And then I was
Man,
gone for
you in
about 2 weeks.
you in the Stone
So
Age, man.
yeah, man, life without
Yeah.
internet in 2023,
I'm
especially
telling you,
when,
I read your thing and I was like, wow, he's having
yeah,
this happen right after we had Hurricane Idalia come through. And it
that's
was
right.
here.
Y'all had
It was here.
a storm too.
This was our that was our first hurricane. And there were parallels, but not like y'all's thing. Y'all's
Yeah.
nature showed up at your door.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
us, it was around the same time, and
Mm, mm,
we had uh, some preparations and stuff. And interestingly, I had it wasn't so much the weather weight and the
mm,
weather fallout, but in parallel, we were trying to get our roof fixed. I'm just going to really, really, really compress this story because it's not nearly as like what you just described is not like all that. Hurricane Idalia came through and was actually pretty nice to us. Like
mm.
we were in the eye. This is my first
Oh,
hurricane. This
nice.
is Shanna's first hurricane. Um,
Interesting.
but on both sides of it, it just we kind of we feel like we got some protective shields, and
Oh,
I
good.
wasn't very worried. And and sure enough, the hurricane did like go right over us in Georgia,
Nice.
but it didn't. Man, all we got was a little bit of rain compared to some of the other thunderstorms that we normally get.
Mm,
There were a couple of branches, but in the meantime, uh, once it passed through, because we didn't lose anything, we didn't really even lose power. And some of our regular rainstorms do that; they just knock our power out,
yeah.
not for very long. But 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 then there was some human stuff going on around the same time frame as you were offline ish.
Mm,
Um, like I just decided to finally just trim trees and cut trees and stuff. And
mm.
actually, I've had this dental thing going on with
That's
my
right.
tooth,
Yeah.
and I had an appointment scheduled for the day the hurricane was going to arrive, and I forgot when this was, but they're like, we need to reschedule you for September the 22nd, which is tomorrow, and I
Mm,
can't do that. I had to push it back even farther this morning, actually, job stuff, but uh, man, while you were waiting for the internet, I was waiting for my tooth appointment because I'm sitting up here.
mm.
I can't eat hot, crunchy, sweet, cold,
Yeah,
anything
nothing. Uh-huh.
on this side of my mouth. So I'm just putting all kinds of cavities on the right side because,
Yeah, yeah. You gotta
man,
do it.
I've been waiting for 2 months
Yeah.
for this thing to get fixed.
Yeah.
So, um, But I was also doing some lawn things, and the guy who was supposed to cut the tree that's been assaulting our roof, since before I moved here, this tree's just been looming over the house, and it's like, hey, every time it drizzles, I'm gonna drop a branch that may be a
Mm.
spear through your roof, and it's taking all these wood-destroying insects who happen to be sitting on the spear, and it's helping them live
Yeah.
in your attic. So we had a
Hell
big
no.
sea of like ants and termites and wood destroying insects
Ugh.
all in this certain layer of this area where the street was. I was so glad when after the hurricane, the guy called me and he was like, okay, I can come out and trim your tree. This dude, he trimmed our tree. That thing is naked. Like I can see the sky.
That's very
And I
nice.
mean, this tree was here. And he trimmed it and he used the blower on our property because it's like a parking lot. It's semi-commercial.
Cool.
He cleaned the thing up. They said, man, this is like unkempt. This is not very Georgia beautiful style because
Mm.
there's a high standard, man. We live a little bit Stepford here in Georgia. Not
Mm.
us, but
Yeah.
like the Georgia scene.
Yeah.
The lawns are
No,
just pretty. They're
manicured.
just
Yes. No, I've
yeah,
driven through there. I know how it
yeah.
is.
It's
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
These ain't lawns. These are lawns.
Yeah,
You know, like
you know what I'm saying?
this is
And
a sacred
except
space, you know?
I'm still a little country because I lived out in the country, so
Yeah.
I don't care if the leaves are all over the
I
place.
know. Yeah.
I was sitting up here living bummy, and the guy's like, "Look, let me help you out." And so he trimmed the tree, but he also blew the whole thing. It's so
Good.
clean. It's
Very
so
nice.
clean though.
I
It's
can
looking nice.
picture it, man. I can picture
Yo,
exactly what you're saying.
you
I
know,
love a good
you
lawn
know, you know
lawn
what I'm
done,
saying?
you know, like
It's a,
because
it's
I'll
you
see
know,
them occasionally like on base, they'll come and
yeah.
they'll
But the
mow and
thing
they'll
is
do
like
trimming and it's like,
the
yeah.
thing is like our lawn is 1.5 acres of random things. So some of it's parking lots. Some of it is like driveway with grass in it. Some of it's on a hill.
Mm,
Some of it's got these palm tree type plants. Some of it's got these garden type things. And there's bushes and weeds next to exotic flowers and things like that. And mowing it is yeah, I mean, mowing it is one thing because you got to be
yeah.
all prepared and prepare for a full day commitment. But then you got to get gentle on it and like be
Mm-hmm.
careful with the flowers and the
Mm-hmm.
worms are coming up. I had a centipede jump. I swear he jumped
Oh,
like it wasn't a centipede. It was like a worm. Most of the
oh.
worms, you disturb them under the ground, they're like, oh my God, and they squirm and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
leave.
they squirm away, yeah.
This particular worm, I know that he jumped at least 6 inches. Like it was high for a worm. I dug
Dang.
him up. He was like, look, man, I've been here 20 years.
I know. I've
And
been
then
up
all
in
of a
here.
sudden I moved his dirt and
He's
he was
mad.
so upset. That kind of stuff is all over the property, stuff be biting you if you don't have your boots and things. So
Yeah.
lawn care is hard for me, man. I'm like a one
Mm-hmm.
man show. Shanna's like, why don't you hire somebody? I'm like, that's expensive, dude. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
we're
is.
trying we're
Yeah,
trying to
for
save here
regular lawn
too.
maintenance.
I can't just have a lawn person come out.
Yeah.
So anyways, but yeah, things are finally slowing down, but
Nice.
we've had a little bit of waiting for things. We had some lawn maintenance stuff. We sat out here with these limbs and like I cleared some of the limbs like myself because I had actually gone up in the tree. Shanna
Mm.
thought this was dangerous, but I had a ladder on the ladder in the tree.
Oh God.
It was
She's
it
so
was
right.
but I
What
had
is
to
this?
I calculate these kind of risks though, bro. So we had the 18-foot ladder to get me up this 14
Oh,
foot, the first branch of the big tree that was assaulting my roof because it was too much. It was
yeah.
causing like $1,000 worth of damage every 3 months. And I'm like, I gotta do something. And
Yeah.
so I had my Hercules arm drag the 10-foot ladder up the 18-foot ladder, and then I
Oh.
got on the first major branch and I put the 10-foot ladder on
Oh
top of the
God.
first branch, and I was up like 30 feet. I got a little vertigo after a while.
Very
I mean,
dangerous. I
I'm not
mean,
gonna
because I
lie.
was thinking like, okay, how tall a ladder are we talking? But then you said 18 footer, and then you taking a 10-foot ladder up.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, that's
And
30
that's why I
feet.
was so happy, bro. When the guy came with a crane, that's why I said we had some parallels. He
Yeah.
he had to bring his truck in, and he did that. He did that business. So I'm really
Yeah.
grateful to those folks. But yeah,
Good
man,
stuff.
it's been a month of nature just kind of reminding you that it's there,
Oh
like
yeah.
big time,
Yeah.
and waiting for things that are considered like basic services. But man,
Yeah.
we take that stuff for granted, man.
For
I'm
sure.
man, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
whether you're middle class or upper class or whatever, there's some things like your phone or
Yeah, certain
your
things.
house
Yep,
leaking
your
water
house,
every time it rains and stuff. I mean,
certain stuff, man. Yeah.
man.
And then to top it off, just we what was it? It was earlier this week. You talking about nature. Joanna was like, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was just working on something. This was like 2 or 3 nights ago. And then all of a sudden, I start hearing this like pounding
Oh,
above
yeah,
because occasionally we have people come and nobody's living in the place above us right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I heard hearing this pounding, and then I start hearing this sound,
Oh no.
the fucking earthquake. And so
Oh God.
and so usually like we'll have
Yeah,
tremors and
yeah,
stuff, but this one lasted a good
yeah.
30 seconds, a minute, to enough to
Wow.
where I stopped for a while and I was like, is it gonna get worse? Or I'm looking at the
Yeah,
door frame, like I don't know how much because we didn't get much earthquake stuff growing up because we're not in an
yeah, yeah,
earthquake. San Antonio, it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
an
yeah,
earthquake
yeah.
zone. But after living in California
Yeah.
and then living out here,
It was like being on a massive waterbed. Yeah, the one I was in Pasadena.
yeah,
It was weird. I never experienced an earthquake, but
there's definitely I've experienced a few. Most of them I've experienced have been out
yeah,
here in Okinawa.
yeah.
There was a few when
Dang.
I was here before, and then
Yeah.
just this one, most recent one was I stopped and I was like, okay, all I know is get in the door frame. That's all I know. And you know where I learned
Yeah.
that from?
Where?
Fresh Prince. There was this episode, and I always think of this every time there's an earthquake. There was this
Yeah.
episode where I don't know where they're locked in somewhere or whatever, and then you know how Will Smith was back then. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just like the earthquake started, and he just looks at the camera and goes, I think of that shit every time there's an earthquake. And I know like hide under desks and stuff because you want to
Hmm.
hide under stuff. But my desk is like glass.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I don't think that's a good place to go. I don't think I'm gonna go there. I think the door frame is the best uh place to go. That's all I know. Shit.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, when we have storms, like it's for real. Like there's a whole prep
yeah,
sequence. Like we have stuff outside. I got to bring it all in. Like we have outdoor like patio
yeah,
furniture. We have
yeah,
like this grass turf or whatever, a few chairs and tables out there. I have to bring that stuff inside and I have to put it
yeah,
in
yeah,
like
yeah.
a storm formation because if not, it will. I got lazy during the last one because I was like,
Uh,
I'm a typhoon veteran. I've been through so many
yeah.
things out here. And I was like, I'm just going to leave. We have this very large table out there. And
Oh man.
so I was lazy and I just flipped the table over and put it on
Uh-huh.
top of the turf. I
Uh-huh.
didn't put it like in a corner or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And Joanna was like, are you sure it's going to be all right? I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, you'll be fine. The next morning, and Joanna looked out. She's like, I don't think it's okay. And I went out there and showed the phone off. Not the
Yeah.
table, but the turf was flipped over, and the table
Oh.
had scooted all the way towards
Oh
the corner.
man.
It was that
Wow.
strong, and this is a huge table. Like to lift it,
Yeah.
it 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 require. I can
Yeah.
do it on my own, but it's pretty heavy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I flipped it over, so it's got nothing. But it had the fucking banshee went through and just
Yeah.
slid it all the way to the side. And okay, so next time
Wow.
I was like, okay, I gotta move that table too. We have sandbags. It's serious out here, man. It's serious because your stuff will
Yeah.
get messed up. Like
Yeah, yeah.
your stuff will get broken. People get hurt, because people don't secure certain things and it flies
Yeah.
around. And next thing you know, it smashed through somebody's window or something, and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially in the more, we're lucky, like we don't live around too many like higher buildings, but more down south, yeah, people don't secure stuff.
Mm.
Cars get flipped over. It happens all the time. Like they'll tell you little things like you don't think, like put gas in your tank. Why do you fill up your tank? You're like, it's an island. Where are you gonna go? It's not so you can drive anywhere. It's so your car has more weight, so
Mm.
it doesn't get tossed.
Mm.
Because you see these cats like I've seen so many videos of empty tank car during a typhoon, just in a parking lot, and that just shit starts sliding to the side. Like, where's it going? Nobody's in there, and it's just
This is light.
yes, it's light, especially the
Typhoon
Japanese
don't
cars
care.
over here, super light
Yeah.
cars. So yeah, there's a way you park your cars. Like I park my car right next to Joanna's car to where you provide some resistance. So yeah, there's a whole
Yeah. Wow.
whole typhoon lesson. But I don't want to talk all typhoon, man.
Yeah.
Creative stuff. So I mentioned that I had lost a lot of momentum.
Hmm.
So basically, I was trying to because I had been doing so many AI experiments during the summer, and I was like, so what am I going to do? Like most of my um content online, the stuff I was putting out on like Twitter, X, was all AI experiment stuff. And now all of a sudden, I can't download videos. I can't even watch videos.
Dang. Yeah.
So yeah, man, I went back to my bread and butter. I went back to writing.
Hmm.
And that's been fun. It's been and I knew this would happen because I hadn't
Yeah.
really doing Sirius and Limnic. I hadn't really written anything new.
Yeah.
I was just taking the book and adapting it to the podcast, which I'm still doing. I just haven't worked on it since we got back, but I hadn't written anything new in a long time. And I was like, man,
Hmm.
I can't wait to get into these AI tools to actually
Yeah.
like use them to write stuff. And during my vacation, that's pretty much what I did. Like I
Yeah.
started experimenting with writing short stories. I wrote
Okay.
for a couple of
Okay.
short stories um, with the AI assistants. And then just 2 days ago, I finished my first AI assisted book.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Wow, just put that out there. Just like knock it out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And
Cool.
and it's and this is an interesting book because
Yeah.
it's not only written with the AI or in partnership with the AI, which I'll talk a little bit about that more about this process because I know there's already
Hmm.
people getting the wrong ideas about AI assisted. What you mean? You,
Uh,
you you press a button and got it. Okay, okay, calm down, calm down.
uh,
I'm gonna tell you.
yeah.
But it's also a language learning resource.
Yeah.
So I'm making it to where it's like a graded reader of sorts for
Oh, okay.
people
Okay.
to be able to learn Japanese through this
Hmm.
story. So it's that. So it's really the first book I'm writing a Japanese version for. So what I did, and this is
Mm.
the strategy that I'm kind of experimenting with, is I put out the entire book for free on X. Like as I was writing it chapter by chapter,
Hmm.
I put it out. And now I'm translating it into Japanese. And that is going to be the paid component to where you get the
Mm.
full story, but then it's also in Japanese. So
Hmm.
you get, if you want to learn Japanese, you can get both. And yeah, that was the third reason why it's kind of
Mm.
special is that this is the first book I've written in second person.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's always like an interesting thing
it's
when you try it.
interesting. I had never kind
Second
of
person, bro.
written like actually having the
I mean,
reader.
like the choose your own adventures. They can be second person, and it's just a
Exactly.
different. It's a different kind of. Hmm,
It's a different kind of
hmm.
immersion. It's a different kind
Oh,
of
yes, it is.
writing.
Yes, it is for
And then
sure.
what's interesting as a writer, and you'll appreciate this, is
Yeah,
that when you write, typically like a lot of people write in third person or first person, you have access. When you write in first person, you have access to your own feelings and thoughts. So you can,
yeah,
I felt this, I thought that. Third
yeah,
person, same thing. It's usually, especially in a lot of fiction, it's third person omniscient. So you can kind of head
yes,
hop. This is what she thought. This is what he
yeah,
thinks. Now the clouds are rolling in. You can kind of just jump
yeah.
around to create this whole picture. But in second person, you don't have that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you kind of do this, kind of old school. You take it back to this sort of silent protagonist type of thing,
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
I find that the parallels continue. At some point, only for a couple of days, I started working with the newer models in Stable Diffusion,
Oh, nice.
and I knew it, man. I knew it. So mom says that Oprah says, when in doubt, don't. Man, look, that is so true. there have been so many times where I started banging my head against the wall trying to develop something, trying to hard code it, trying to learn. I'm like, you know what?
Mm,
Somebody's going to invent something for this in 2 months. I don't
right,
even need to mess with it.
right.
Because there've been models to train your own model in Stable Diffusion.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that a few months ago. I was like, man, it'd be nice to have a version of me in there. You go on the
Mm,
YouTube, they're like, put yourself in a Stable Diffusion model.
yeah.
I'm like, man, this is too hard. Like, I'm just not
Mm-hmm.
getting it.
Yeah.
That's a clue for me personally. Now, everybody's
Yeah.
setup is different, but
Of
for me
course.
personally, if it's too
Yeah.
hard, I don't need
Back
to be
out.
doing it. Like, I
Yep.
just don't need to be doing it. It just doesn't work for me.
Right.
Sure enough, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Stable Diffusion, I went on there and they have a brand new thing, which is
Mm,
like one shot face replacement, straight up.
yeah.
Drag a picture of your face
Yeah.
there, and then tell
And then
Stable
boom.
Diffusion a picture of a man in
Mm-hmm.
cartoon form, and it's
Right.
you in cartoon form. Yes, it's that powerful, and people are moving that quickly in this field.
Oh God, yeah.
So, uh, relating to what you were talking about, there were I'm decided to put together some other stuff that we can talk about offline,
Mm,
but it required second person.
mm,
And I did a couple of second person images. That's just eerie, dog. It was
I
eerie.
bet.
Like there are a couple of images of me out there. They look a little scary, right? I mean, I know we've been able to do avatar stuff, but now it's to the point where if you could get Stable Diffusion working on your own machine,
Mm-hmm.
you can avatar yourself all day, all night. You don't
Right.
need any programming of any kind, man.
No.
And you
Yeah.
just drag it in there. But yeah, it's a kind of cool turn for generative AI. That stuff
Yeah.
is so good as far as the art
It's
is concerned.
oh man. Yeah,
And I
there's so
also,
many.
by the way, speaking of writing, you went back to writing. I'm now working on Laurentia 2, or at
Oh,
least
nice.
Laurentia second edition, because I'm getting
Yeah.
so close, bro. So close to finishing my asteroid translation. I have
Wow.
I have 640 asteroids left.
Oh,
This
that's
is like a
nothing.
huge deal.
Man,
Exactly,
you've gone
because
so far. Man,
yeah, I know.
feel like
So
last
the
year when we
total
talked about it, you still had some insane number left.
it was yeah, so I have a total of 21,800
Yeah,
things
there it
because
is.
I add a few more with some new ideas. They're like variants of the major
Yeah,
planets. So it's like 21,800, and I've done 21,100 something
right.
like, and it's a steady plod. But as I get closer to the end, I said, okay, we need to start writing the second edition of Laurentia
Mm,
because Laurentia is an asteroid dictionary, right?
mm,
And it has 1,000 asteroids translated. So Laurentia first edition has a lot of things that I wanted to take out. It's theory heavy.
mm,
The methodology is totally different.
mm.
Laurentia second edition, I take all of that out, and it's just like, welcome to my book. This is the statistics I used because
Yeah,
second edition used statistics, first
yeah.
one didn't.
More rigorous.
Um, but it's so neat to have both editions side by side
Yeah.
because you get the first edition, which was based on essentially, I'm not gonna call it a glorified version of people watching. It was
Mm,
really good qualitative observation. Um, but this is the quantitative half. And
mm.
so when you take the original 1,000 in Laurentia 1 and you sit them next to those same 1,000 that show up quantitatively via, non-parametric tests in Laurentia 2, you're like, man, this asteroid that said where a person acts arrogantly, and this text mining on that same asteroid that says king, queen, you know, business,
Mm.
stuff like that.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not.
yeah,
Man, that is some.
yeah,
I mean, I know there's some people out there that are like astrology is
yeah,
hogwash. And I'm like,
yeah.
look, me
Mm-hmm.
personally, as a statistician, if I'm seeing folklore that says arrogance and text mine that says king, that's not random.
Mm.
Like, yo. So, but the second edition is not going to have 1,000 interpretations of asteroids. It's going to have almost 22,000.
Wow.
So I had to start formatting that book and try to figure out how in the
Mm-hmm.
hell people gonna read it with 6 point font. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm,
six
I,
point?
no,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
you cruel.
I was like, I know, I was like, I can't. But I
That's
want to keep it
rough.
to one book because you don't need to be buying, you
Right,
know, 600 page thing twice.
right.
So I gotta squeeze
I
22,000 interpretations into 600 pages because that's what my publisher, my publishing platform once, and then
Yeah.
also you don't want it to be 1,000 pages. So anyway, man, I'm having fun writing the second edition of Laurentia.
Nice.
Um, but there's a lot of, there's stuff like you say, you try out, you go back to some of the other mediums that you
Yeah,
use.
man. Yeah, going back to writing has been I just realized how much I have my problem is, I mean, when it comes to creativity stuff, I just have too much. I have so many stories that
Yes.
I'm like, especially like that's
Yeah.
why I was doing so many short stories because
Yeah.
you have no idea, man. I was doing uh, AI stories. I did maybe five
Yeah.
over the vacation, and I did everything on my phone.
Yeah.
All I
You did,
used,
and I never understood how you do that.
I
I
mean,
I can't
I've
I can't
adapted
I
because
can't
I
do that on
mean,
my phone.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy what you can just do in my with your phone, and I think, that's not something that you can really advertise. That people really, most people don't get it
Hmm.
because they would never try and like make a book cover on their phone
Yeah.
or generate mid-journey images. Most people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or write something. But I'm using ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Google Docs. Those are the
Yeah.
only three things I was really using,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was able to produce some really nice covers um, for the short stories that I was writing. But
Yeah.
yeah, the second story has been interesting. It's been
Yeah.
it was pretty cool writing that, and
Yeah.
I just see how quickly that I can go from okay, I have an idea like a story from my day. This is where the first short story I did last month came from. I had encountered this story during the day. I was like, I kind of want to run with that. I want to see what happens with it. So I kind of made up a story around based on true events story that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to do a cover. And the reason why I've been experimenting with covers is I listened to this podcast a couple of weeks ago that this woman basically she did a kind of deep dive into why books sell.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did a lot of the probably stuff that a lot of the statistical analysis and that type of stuff. And basically, she came up with a couple of factors that will determine success or failure of a book. And the main two factors that you could actually have control over, well, the main two factors that we're telling is one, the size of the book advance that the author got. So these were all like, these weren't indie published stuff. These are
Mm-hmm.
all like major publishing companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing was the likability of the cover.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of the writing, she did a whole section on this. It was all
Yeah.
super subjective, and
Oh yeah.
nobody could really say whether or not.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
some people,
Yeah.
quality mattered. For some people, and quality's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah. It is.
I've,
It is true.
you and I have
Shannon,
both read
Shannon,
books.
Shannon be reading her books, and she's like, "Yeah,
Exactly.
this book sucks in terms of quality." But I mean, I read it because it's got a lot of kinds of scenes and things that I like and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, some people just pick it up and they know the quality's no good. But
exactly. Some people don't.
yeah,
Some
they don't
people
care.
they
They
don't
don't care.
care what the quality is. It's
A
just
reviewer of one of my books was like, "Hey, your books have so many errors, it makes me mad."
yeah. You see, for some
And
people,
and the thing is, like,
that's a death blow.
I don't have exactly I don't have a lot of errors, but for
Yeah,
somebody who's discerning, I mean, I can't catch them all. It's freaking
yeah.
600 pages of me reading my own 600-page book six
Right.
times. I mean, then that's it. And I mean, if you see some errors, I mean, I know there're gonna be errors
No,
in
no,
there.
for real. And so
But
for some
but
people,
I mean,
that's
for
a
that's it.
deal
That's the end
breaker.
of it.
That's the end
That's
of
the
it.
end of
This
it.
book's
They're like, I
trash.
have to put it down. It's making me sick.
And other people, you have people on
But
the
I look, yo, I'm not even gonna lie. Those errors are in there though.
yeah,
Sometimes
no,
I
I mean
try.
I was reading
I
Serious
mean,
Unlimited.
I'm
There's
not mad.
definitely a few, and I'm
I'm
just
not
like,
mad.
okay,
Sorry. Yeah,
you know.
you know.
But then there's other people on the other side of the
That's
spectrum.
Jay-Z's best quote. If you don't like my lyrics, you can press fast forward. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you
You
don't
know?
like it, put the book down.
You didn't write it with me. I mean, you don't need to read
Yeah,
this. Nobody's
no, I
holding a gun
mean,
to
and
your head.
everybody's super, especially nowadays, people are be super picky about stuff. Like on the other side of the spectrum, you got oh, there's too many errors in this. But on the other side, you got, oh, you killed off this character. Oh, this character hooked up with that character. This book's trash.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
because the
yeah.
story went in a
No.
direction that they didn't like, so now the book's bullshit. It could be a great
Oh,
book,
oh,
but
oh, bro. Okay.
yeah.
Speaking of story progression, I don't want to derail us too much, but let me tell you about what I was playing and what we were watching. I'll compress it. I went on a horror tip for a while, and I'm
Mm,
still kind of in it. I'm still kind of in it. So I did something that one who is not psychologically prepared should never do. Me and Shanna have TV time. It's basically
mm,
every night. Our thing is British murder mysteries. Tonight is
mm,
Thursday night football, so there will be no British murder mysteries. But like we watching some British murder mysteries. We've had two recently.
mm,
They were described as dark and gritty on Netflix. One of them was called Daglish, British murder
mm,
mystery. Amazon Prime actually is where I think it is, and another one is called Hidden.
mm,
And we watched Daglish. We're like, oh, our shows are usually a little lighter than this one. Usually a little lighter.
mm,
We watched Hidden. We didn't know what we were in for until we were knee deep in it, and we were like,
mm,
and it seemed like a regular Law and Order type thing until it
mm,
kept going, and then it kept going. And towards the end, I was like, Shanna, I feel like the makers of Hidden, they they're like, this is not a crime drama. It's got like 20%
mm.
horror a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
It was gritty, dude. Okay. On top of those things, because there were five, I downloaded on Nintendo eShop. This is totally a plug. There's a game called Tsugu no Hi,
Mm,
and just walk left. Just walk left. That's all
mm.
you do. You don't do anything except walk left.
That's funny.
And in one of the stories you look up, and it's just a story. It's supposed to be horror. It
Mm.
was weird. It was creepy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
There's some
It's
creepy
creepy.
games on
There's
there.
there's some there's some scenarios in it in Korean horror. It's like the best kind of
Oh
horror.
God.
It's like
Oh,
Korean
Korean
horror is like
horror.
that's the
Oh
horror.
God.
That's
No,
the
yeah,
horror.
that's some serious horror.
It's
Like
the gold
shit your
standard.
pants
Yeah.
horror.
And you could be trapped in a school like in 100 different ways, and it's still scary. You know?
I feel like Korean horror. I saw a Korean horror movie a couple
Yo,
of years ago, and I was
yo.
like,
You know?
I haven't watched one since.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that it was a great movie, but
Yeah,
they're really scary. They can be
they are.
very because they
They are.
combine the
Yeah.
gore and the psychological, and I feel like the psychological horror is
Yeah.
worse than the gore
Yeah.
horror, but they
Okay.
just combine it in a way that's
Okay,
crazy.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna save the best for last in the sequence of five. Then there's a game which I'm currently playing called Fran Bow. And it's more like David Lynch artistic. It's creepy in some areas, not quite horror. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
psychological. Again, on the eShop because that's
Mm.
my main system, Nintendo Switch. So I'm playing it, and you got all kinds of things. There's a scene that has like claymation in it, and there's like paper drawings of
Oh
things.
God. Oh, this
It's
sounds
it's
horrible.
yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
It's
actually, I like horror, but I mean,
yeah.
I'm not.
I mean,
I have a
you
low.
know, yeah,
I can't do it very much.
yeah,
I can do like one or two a
Frambo,
year, maybe.
yo, Frambo's it's a cool game. It's a cool game. All these are good. They all get
Yeah.
thumbs up, by the way, everything I'm listing. So number one for me was Sugunohi. Uh, number two is one I haven't told you about just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, we started watching Daglish. Number four, I started playing Flambeau, and number five, it was Hidden, and that was my horror streak. And I've been shaken in some way by watching this. Let me tell you about the second one, which
Mm-hmm.
was the worst one. There's a game. I want you to check this out, and I want anybody listening to this podcast to check this out. There's a game out there called Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh God, I've heard of this.
Okay,
I've heard
I
of it.
hadn't. Okay, and I hadn't. It it's like it's like, hey, we got four cute anime girls
Right,
and
right.
we're in the
It's one
Doki
of
Doki
them.
Literature Club
Mm-hmm.
and realize the horror of the school, the psychological horror game. Doki Doki Literature Club. And then you look at the intro and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
yay, Doki Doki, this and stuff, and then that's the end of the ad. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, they must be lying, dog. They must be lying. What are they doing? So I look at the previews of it. And the two of the previews, one of the trailers like Doki Doki, yeah, wow, and then the second preview has two reviews, only two in the beginning. One of them said, one of the by far one of the scariest games I have ever played.
Wow.
The second one said, like, this game will unnerve you. And I was like, I don't know what they're describing. I
Wow.
don't get it because you
Yeah.
look at the trailer, there's no hint.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
match.
I download it and I play it. And it's one of those games like Witness for the Prosecution that you won't tell anybody anything about when you've experienced it. If people want
Hmm.
to spoil it for themselves, they can. But the people who've played it and kind of believe in it will not tell you what it's about. And I won't either.
Wow.
But what I will say is that reviewer who said it's one of the scariest games he's ever played, I agree.
Wow.
Agree. Agree. That is the only game I have ever played which filled me with a sense of dread, straight dread. I wanted
Wow.
to continue it, but I really didn't,
Oh.
though. And Doki Doki Literature Club is freaking scary. Scary, dog.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. And I'm just saying.
That's not what that you've told you
Yo,
I saw some stuff about it online and I didn't
yo.
know because there's a lot of games, you spend more time on there than I do.
Yeah.
I actually haven't fired up my Switch in a long time. It's been like
Okay,
a month
okay,
and a
okay.
half.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there's some games on there that be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
how did you get on here? Like, and it's so funny because it's
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
think Nintendo, oh, Mario, oh, Yoshi, all these cute
No,
characters. And then you
no.
have the eShop where it's just like, it seems
It's
like,
yo, yeah,
I
the
don't know what
shop
their
be
checks
having
are to get your game on there,
yo,
but I don't
if
think
the
it's
I
very
think if the
stringent.
I think if the game was published somewhere else, because Frambo I found out was a mobile game. And so what
Oh,
people are doing is they're just porting over their mobile games and their Steam games,
I
and
see.
Nintendo's banking bank off the platform. And
Hmm.
they don't have to care because they know that the
Right,
blood and gore, Sony be up on that.
right.
And, I mean, this is a real market, and as long as
Yeah.
Nintendo can respectively distance themselves, and they are,
And they
because
do. Yeah.
what they're doing is like new releases, Mario Kart and Rabbids
Hmm.
and Yoshi and Paper Mario's coming out. I hope it's as funny as one of the originals,
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Princess, now Princess has a game. Okay, that was
Hmm.
overdue, right? But but that's a scream for greatest hits, recent releases, and bestsellers.
Hmm.
And then the eShop is a damn indie free for all.
Yeah, it's a
And
free
like
for
not
all. There's
eShop,
so
sorry,
many
the
the
great deals, the
yeah,
great
great
deals.
deals. It's like it's like
It's
going to what they call
a,
it, like
a bazaar.
a bazaar. I was thinking
A
one of those
bazaar.
game stores, the old school, like electronics
Yeah, yeah,
boutique or something,
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
they were
yeah.
just selling off all these old games and it's just a
Yeah.
bunch of you just stick your hand in and you could just okay,
That's what you get.
okay.
You I'm intrigued by Mortal Kombat 1. I'm not a Mortal Kombat person,
Mm,
but Mortal Kombat 1, it's like, yeah, the fire god Liu Kang. I'm like, okay, okay, multiverses. I think that because I believe in that. And I feel like Liu Kang's worked pretty hard across the Mortal Kombat franchise. It's about time he's a fire god, man. It's nice. It looked nicely designed.
nice, man. Yeah,
Mortal Kombat's almost got me, but not quite.
I can't say I've been keeping up with I haven't been keeping up with much, man, when it comes to gaming. I've
All you
been
do is go
really
to the eShop and see what they're selling. That's how I know. I don't
that's
follow
true.
anything else. So,
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I occasionally watch it, like I said, because of the whole internet outage, I wasn't watching much YouTube
hmm
videos, but yeah, and it's kind of sad too because I do miss gaming. Like I love sitting down
yeah,
and playing the gaming. And I think what got me was I played all the Xenoblade Chronicles
yeah,
back to
yeah,
back. So that's a lot. That's a heavy. It literally took
yeah,
me over a
yeah,
year to
yeah,
do all three of them, and they're all great games. I love
yeah,
them all. But yeah, I think after that, I was like, I didn't even finish the DLC for
yeah.
the third one, even though I bought it. I was just
Mm,
like, and I started playing
yeah,
Tears of the Kingdom, but then I've been doing a lot of Japanese lately.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I have this thing where gaming and reading are like on the same scale with me. And the
yeah.
more I do of one, the less I do of the other.
Yeah,
So
okay,
if I
now
game a
now
lot, I don't read. If I read a
you
lot, I
know
don't game.
and
And so I'm
and and
reading a
you
lot now.
said something about that and back to the creative stuff because I
Yeah.
learned this too. While I'm translating my asteroids, I I would kind of get curious about one of the asteroids and want to
Mm,
make a picture of it or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
And I would go off and do the AI stuff. And but what I finally learned about 2 weeks ago is like, I really have to focus
Mm,
because
yeah,
if I'm there are certain things I cannot do. Otherwise, I'll lose speed on translating these asteroids, and there's,
right,
thousands of them. I have to get through them.
right.
I can't do AI. I can't listen to music. I can't
No,
be on the internet.
me neither,
But I
basically. Yeah,
have to have a timer of some sort. I have to have
me
some way
too.
of pacing my progress. Because if you said, I have a workflow in Nime which updates whenever I save my asteroids file.
Mm.
So it's looking for a file change, and it's just a loop that goes forever. And it's waiting for a file change. And when the file with my asteroids changes, it rereads it and tells me how many more I have left.
Oh, nice.
And if I had to translate asteroids without that workflow, I'd be so slow. I
Mm.
have to have a timer.
Some type of
And that is
indicator.
that is my timer. So, but if I have anything else, man, it's not gonna get done. It's
Yeah,
just not
I
gonna get
used to
done.
be a big music proponent. Like I used to listen to music anytime I worked when I was younger, and I just don't do it anymore. And I mean that kind of makes me sad because now I don't really have an excuse to get newer music or listen to as much newer music. But yeah, I just can't get stuff done when I'm a big, I've
Yeah.
mentioned it before. I know people maybe are tired of me bringing it up, but Pomodoro, I do Pomodoro technique, and I've been
Mhm.
doing that for the past probably year and a half.
What is
And
that?
that's the one where you do 25 minutes on, then you do
Ah,
5 minutes off, you take a break, and then
okay,
you
okay.
do it 4 times. The optimal is you do it 4 times and then you
Yeah,
take like a longer break. I never do
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
always just go until I have to do something else. But
yeah,
yeah, being on for 25 minutes, something about knowing, okay, there's a clock that I
yeah.
started with 25 minutes. And so whatever I'm doing, whether I'm working on Sirius and Limnic or I'm working on the book or I'm doing Japanese, I know that 25 minutes is just for that.
Yes.
Nothing else. Like no checking email, no getting on
Yeah.
social media, not even I won't even answer my messages. I'll act
Mm.
like it's on
Hmm.
or I'll put it on silent or whatever. And then
Yeah.
after that 20 minutes is over, okay, now I can check the messages.
Hmm.
And that keeps me just okay, this one thing, 25 minutes. I can do it for 25 minutes and I make a lot of good progress
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. There is something to be said for knowing what the variables are for your focus.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
super important. If you're out there creating and you're listening to this stuff. I mean, because I think that's the hardest part nowadays. And I'm actually going to be writing my next creative futurist article probably next week about this,
Hmm.
about just focusing in like how to because there's so much stuff with the
Yeah.
AI stuff and you have the internet and then you have your phone and all of them are just and that's one thing I saw when my month and a half no internet is because all of a sudden
Hmm.
you don't have all these options. I can't
Hmm.
watch a YouTube video. I
Yeah.
can't I don't really want to check my email because it's slow as fuck.
Yeah.
Um, only a few apps on my phone work well outside of Wi-Fi. What do I do? Well,
Hmm.
all of a sudden you have very few options, and that's not a bad thing because as soon as I got the internet back, I'm not gonna lie, it was like a day or two this week of just
Hmm.
like I was like, like whoa,
Yeah. There's a lot to.
everything's back
Yeah.
on all of a sudden. Like,
Yeah.
what do I build? It's like that after SimCity, we always put that cheat code in, get all the money,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you always thought, I'll never forget, you always did this and you taught us to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cheat code where you
You
start
take
out with
out the
like a thousand
loan,
dollars and you
and
take
you
out
take
the
out another
loan,
loan.
you max everything out,
Yeah.
where your shit will fall down, and then you spend
Yeah. Yeah.
everything down to the last dollar.
Yeah.
And then you have nothing. All you can build
Yeah.
is a fucking power line.
Yep.
A good
Yep.
a good bit that's gonna do with no houses.
Yep.
Or with just a bunch of zones down. And then all of a sudden, New Year rolls in,
Yep.
you're rich. Everything falls back
Yeah.
up. Oh, build an
That's the
airport, build
SimCity
a
code,
power
bro.
plant,
Yeah,
build a
yeah.
police station, build 10 of the
And
fuckers. Who cares?
it becomes totally about what you do with the landscape at that point.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like so that's what I felt like. I felt like I went from that, okay, you
Mm.
can build one power line to like the whole internet is
Hmm.
back on again. And yeah, I definitely lost focus for the last few days because it wasn't that busy of a week because we just got back. But yeah, I think, and that's one thing I actually have been trying to do is like focus in on certain social media because I'm on all the platforms.
Hmm.
and including like Japanese focused platforms too. So I have that
Cool,
kind
cool.
of mix going in there, but just trying to be on all of them, even like just posting on all of
Hmm.
them. It's, that's one thing I couldn't do when I didn't have internet. So I'm like, man, that's too much. So
Hmm.
I just kind of boiled it down to two. Um, with my phone, I try and minimize, I turn off notifications, things like that. These
Hmm.
little things that just like, okay, because you don't realize how much you get out of the zone when you're
Yeah,
working and
yeah,
then
yeah.
your phone just out of the corner of your eye, it lights up for some
Yeah.
reason. You don't know why it lit up, but you're like, all of a sudden, I don't even know how that looked like, but my phone's right there and it's been lighting up because it's hearing me talk and it's lighting up for no reason. And I'm like,
Uh,
but it seriously knocks you out of the flow, man. And
Mhm.
like it just makes stuff take longer.
Yeah,
And I don't like that. So, I mean, and that's one thing I've read. That's one thing that's gotten me more centered in than I was earlier this year. Like I was trying to do coding, I was trying to do writing, I was still working on the podcast, I was doing all these things.
mm,
And I think it hit home when somebody on X said it best. Is like every minute you spend doing something that's not your main thing is taking away from your main thing because
yeah,
you could have used that minute on your main thing, but you used it
yeah,
on some other thing.
yep,
And it's a more extreme way to look at it, but it's not wrong. I mean, like
yeah,
when you have the main thing, like you're working on your book and the asteroids, when you start doing stuff with AI, it's the same with me. When I start getting too deep into AI experimentation mode,
yeah,
then I'm not working on my book. I'm not working on
yeah,
Sirius and Limnic. And you have to decide, is that worth it? Sometimes it is.
yeah.
Sometimes you need a break or whatever, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like our whole, family TV time is family time, right?
right. Yeah.
Gaming is like that's what I do when my brain doesn't.
Yeah.
My brain's like,
That's
look,
your
I
time.
I need to be guided to the next objective now
Right.
because
Just tell me what to do.
I can't translate another asteroid. I'm sorry, I don't have
Yeah.
it. So yeah, but it's a
Yeah.
balance.
It is a balance. I think you got to
Yeah,
have both of those times where you're focused in on something, and then those times where it's like, okay, it's just diffuse.
yeah.
I'm just gonna be on my phone. I'm just gonna watch this show or whatever. I'm not even gonna think about this. You got to have that balance of stuff.
Hmm.
But there's so much stuff. I mean, we've summarized basically 2 months of our lives in
I know,
an
right?
hour. I know there's a lot more stuff you got. I got a ton more
Yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah,
I just
yeah,
have way too many stories that I have that I'm just like, man. But I mean, that's one of the things I'm loving about this whole AI flow.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that it does allow you. And oh yeah, I mentioned some people were probably like, oh, he said he was going to talk about writing with the AI. I'll mention it briefly. Basically, what I'm doing is I write basically a brief. And this is such a fun way to me for me to create stories. And I like how you mentioned that game that you said is or that show that you said is a crime, but it's horror.
Oh yeah,
It's,
hidden.
it's horror
A
elements.
Welsh crime drama, hidden.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
this kind of
serious.
system that I'm using to create short stories does that. It has you coming up with these kind of strange mashups of genres.
Mm,
And just by picking a weird genre type like crime and horror,
yeah, yeah,
and declaring that up front, like saying, maybe it didn't say that on the show, but then you watch it and you're like, okay, this is definitely crime. I'm feeling horror vibes, but it's a lot of crime drama stuff.
yeah.
I feel like that's, as a writer and a storyteller, that's such a fun
Hmm.
place to be. Like, have that variable. Just know, like, for the book that I'm working on, it's called, it's such a silly title. It's called Maldives Madness.
Okay.
Maldives, the country, and then Madness, right?
Uh-huh.
And so it started out, the genre is adventure sports.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking like, okay, adventure story, The Mummy,
Oh, yeah,
Indiana
yes.
Jones,
Uh-huh.
you've got some type of far-flung locale that you're going to go to, some type of
Yeah.
quest, so some type of meeting of these characters, different characters coming together. So you have that. And then it's sports.
Hmm.
And we're not big sports people.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
a big sports person. But I was like, okay, a sports story, like a story centered around like athletic competition,
Uh-huh.
around there's rivalries, there's certain tropes that come with sports stories. So how can I mash those together? So I was in the Maldives and beautiful, beautiful spot. And I'm like, what if there was a competition here,
Hmm.
like for various different events?
Uh-huh.
So I was like, what are they going to do? Well, one of the things that I did, I played beach volleyball with a bunch of Europeans
Uh-huh.
that looked like they had no business on a volleyball court, but they were fucking good.
Oh.
Wipe the floor with us. Volleyball. I was like,
Uh,
okay, volleyball. But then I was like, volleyball itself is kind of okay, it could be fun, but let's make it more interesting. Okay, how about time warp volleyball? You hit the ball in certain parts and time slows down or it speeds up. Guess who came up with that idea?
Who?
ChatGPT.
Oh wow.
You
Okay.
see? And so this
Okay.
is what I'm saying, like, and this is what's
Interesting.
interesting about writing with the AI. Because
Yeah.
when I prompt it, I say, you are my writing assistant. You are going to help me write this story. Here's the parameters of the story. It's told in second person. It's an adventure sports story. Here's the characters that I want in there. And you start giving it all this, all of a sudden, you've basically written your own story. And
Mhm.
ChatGPT is there to fill in the details as far as the actual sentences, boots on the ground. But then it's not all
Yeah.
Chat GPT because every time Chat GPT would generate something, I'd inevitably be like, close, but we can work on this. Close, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit repetitive. Close, but it's a little bit boring. Close, but there's not enough dialogue. Close, but your descriptions are way too flourishing. You get it so far to where it just starts to, oh, and the lovely water was shimmering like the earth on the moonlit day and all this stuff. It starts doing this bullshit, and it's like, okay, okay, I you have to tell it like tone it down, those types of things. But then at the end of the day, what I'll do is I
Yeah.
basically what I started doing was, and this process took the entire book to figure out, but I'll basically write a brief for each chapter. And sometimes it's basically like writing the entire chapter, basically.
Mm,
I'll be
mm,
like, I want her to say this. I want him to say this. Add more description of what the reader is seeing the characters do. Make sure
mm,
you describe their thoughts and feelings, how they would do this. Then this guy comes in. Then this happens. And so you have these like, some of them are full out, fleshed out sentences. Some of them are not. Some of them are just
mm,
details. And then you
mm.
put in a ChatGPT,
Hmm.
full chapter.
Very cool. Very
It's a very
cool.
cool process that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is super new and it feels right. It feels like as if you and I were writing a book, but you have all of the context that I've given you about the book and you're
Mm-hmm.
very eager to help me write the book. So I say, this is what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
You fill in the details, sometimes you give me ideas. Like I would stop, like the Time Warp Volleyball, when it came up with that, I was
Yeah.
like, Time Warp Volleyball, that sounds so cool. It's not a sci-fi story, but I'm like, who the fuck cares? It's my book.
Yeah,
I can put
yeah,
whatever I
yeah.
want in there.
Exactly,
So I put
exactly.
Time Warp Volleyball. I was like, I don't even know the rules to regular volleyball. Like I know
The
the rules vaguely, but I couldn't
yes,
like
yes.
write them down or anything. So I said, write me a rule set for time warp volleyball.
Oh
And
wow.
it did it.
Dang,
And it
okay.
did it. So
Very
you get
neat.
all of these types of, not only is it great at brainstorming, it's great at writing. Of course, you can turn it into it can be whatever you want, but as far
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the actual writing process goes, like that process, and having gone through this with Sirius and Limnic, I can attest that this is, and you've done it before too with your books. This is not a quick process. It's very
No.
iterative. A lot of times you forget stuff, you go back, there's details that you miss. Um, it's a writing a book can be a long process. This
Yeah.
really
Mm,
simplifies it and shortens it to where I can just pump out stories much
mm.
faster. And really, all you need to be able to do is you need to be able to describe what you want. And I'm making it
Yeah.
sound simple. I don't think it's simple. The only reason I can do it so well is because I have written my own book. Two, I'm very good at organizing information. Like that's just one of my superpowers. I'm just good at,
Hmm.
okay, I don't want this. I want this. And
Yeah.
make it like this. Like I know I'm super good at that. And that is a boon in the period of AI when all
Yeah.
you just have to
Yeah.
know crystal clear what you want, and then the challenge is being able to articulate that to
Yeah.
the system
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
tell it exactly. And man, I'm super good at that. So
That is
yeah,
cool.
it's a super exciting process, man. I
That sounds
think
very interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about doing once I get it more refined because I this morning I was up early doing something and I got like 3 ideas for books. Dude,
Uh-huh.
with this shit, you can write books. Maldives Madness took me 1 week to write. If I wasn't doing the
Wow.
Japanese version, it would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
done and out and published.
Wow.
I wrote a choose your own adventure fantasy sci-fi book starring 2 kids. I had it out on Gumroad. It's out now. You can go on my website and find it. It's based here in Okinawa.
Hmm.
It's called Island of Souls. It's
Hmm.
about 2 kids, a 12-year-old and 8-year-old, and they find this scroll.
Hmm.
And there's 2 death gods that are after them, and they
Hmm.
have to outwit the death god while
Yeah.
completing their quest.
Wow. And I also say wow because of the parallels again, because I'm playing Frambeau. She's 10. She's 10 years old. So
Yeah,
you've got 8 and 12 death gods, things like that.
yeah. And this was
Interesting.
based off of
Interesting.
an Okinawan folklore type of thing
Mm, mm.
that they have locally, and it's very much an Okinawa thing. But it's a choose your own adventure. There's 5 endings
Oh,
written with
okay.
ChatGPT. I wrote this entire book, and it's a smaller book. I wrote it
Yeah.
in one day
Damn.
because I knew we were getting ready to leave on our trip, and I knew I was
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
able
yeah.
to do it all while we were gone. So in one day, I went from literally an idea
Huh.
to a finished book that you
That is
can buy.
awesome.
And and once again, the quality is in the eye of the beholder. I thought,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this is the
yeah,
thing I
yeah, yeah.
like about doing these stories with ChatGPT is that that moment when you're writing, when you come up with like a good idea, and you're like,
Yeah.
shit, this is you're enjoying reading it
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
writing
yeah.
it. With
Yeah.
ChatGPT, that process is even more like surprising because you don't know exactly how it's going to interpret your instructions. If you've put your instructions
Mm.
in correctly, and if you didn't just say, write me a novel, of course you're going to get some bullshit. But if you
Uh,
give it instructions and you know more or less where you want your story to go, you're going to get something surprising. And that became kind of my unofficial test whether I would stop working
mm.
with it was, am I surprised by this? Did it like
Yeah, yeah.
make me react kind of unexpectedly like, "Oh, I didn't expect that to happen." Did I
Mm.
did was it funny? There was a couple of times where
Yeah,
ChatGPT would put something in and it would be
yeah.
like,
Oh, wait, look at
"You
you
got
comedian.
jokes? Okay."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That shit
yeah.
funny. And it's based
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what's
yeah.
great is it's based off of what you're giving it. So this is the
Yeah.
thing about this, and I'm going in deep with this. We should end soon, but at least the
Yeah.
recording part. But this is that thing about, is it human generated? Is it not human generated? Because if you read Maldives Madness, if you read my book, my Choose Your Own Adventure book, Island of Souls, there is no fucking way you would tell that I wrote it with AI.
Mm.
You just can't. Like, you can't. If I did not tell you, you would not know.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
And I think that's a good thing because that
Yeah,
means I've got this synergy with it to where I have my process to where basically
yeah.
the output, it is basically me. Like the whole story is me.
Hmm.
ChatGPT would not land on that story in Okinawa in that way randomly. It just wouldn't.
Yeah,
So these arguments
yeah.
about like, oh, AI, it's not human and it's doing all this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
it can't do a damn fucking thing on its own. It just
Yeah.
can't come up with specific outputs on its own. It can make a lot of stuff. If you just tell it to go, if you just tell it, write me a story, write me a book, it will absolutely do it. And it will do a decent ish job of
Hmm.
it, but it won't
Yeah.
be anything that anybody wants to read, probably, because you didn't give it. But when you're writing the books the way I'm writing it, if you're just writing in general, even if you're not writing books, because I've written essays and blog posts with it before, then you're
Hmm.
going to get something that you don't expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I'm excited about this stuff.
Very cool.
So in the future, I'm hoping to.
Yeah.
I would love to have like a seminar or something or some type
Yes.
of
I was thinking that same
training.
thing.
It'd be like,
Same thing.
and I was
Yeah.
thinking of doing it like this, basically saying like, hey, if you've got your story that you want to tell for your life, it could be anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Join this and you'll have a book within a week.
Yes.
You'll have a finished manuscript.
Yeah.
I can show you how
That
to get
that'd be
there.
a cool idea.
Oh, it's gonna happen, man.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet because I want to do a nonfiction book first.
Hmm.
And I'll talk offline about some big strides that I'm making on the nonfiction side. But nonfiction is so much easier than fiction, too. I haven't even done nonfiction yet. And all I did just morning in an
Yeah.
hour, I generated 2 outlines for 2 books. One of them
Hmm.
is in Japanese completely.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The other one is in English, but it involves Japanese. So I outlined those books and I'm like, a couple of more tweaks to the outline, the book's done.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because it's nonfiction.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is just tell it. Nonfiction is so much easier than fiction because you don't have this balance of dialogue and prose and all this stuff. No, you're just write the information that you want the reader to get.
Yeah.
And so, oh man, I could go on and on, man. I've got so much AI stuff that look. If you're listening to this, and one of the reasons you listen to Two Brothers Talking, because we like to talk about AI and technology and storytelling, hit me up because I'm I'm open to. I want to train more people in this. Like I know I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
really close to this stuff, closer than most people. Like real time, I'm getting updates. I know what's going on with AI. Not only do I know what's going on, I know how to use it.
Uh-huh.
I know how to use it to do practical stuff, write books, write essays, write sales copy. Hello, you want to sell more books? Actually, not just write them. Hit me up. You want to make some money? Hit me up. I just made a video yesterday how to write a sales page with. Have you heard of Claude?
No.
You don't know the homie Claude?
No. No. Never heard of Claude. Don't know
Claude
who he
is
is.
Claude is ChatGPT's friend that lived next door.
Oh, is that so?
Just like because the name. Why did they choose Claude? I don't know.
Claude. Claude.
Claude is another chatbot AI, very similar to ChatGPT. The advantage
Uh-huh.
to Claude, at least at this time when we're recording this, September 2023, is that Claude can accept way more input. It's got 100,000 token context window,
Mm-hmm.
meaning
Mm.
you could give it entire books and then you could work off of that book. You can ask it questions, you can develop it, you
Uh-huh.
can do whatever, remix it, whatever you want. So the
Yeah, yeah.
famous example that they used when it came out, and it's actually a couple of months old, actually.
Hmm.
They fed it The Great Gatsby, the
Oh,
entire book.
interesting.
Great Gatsby is not a very long book. I looked up the word count. It's about 47,000 words. It's still
Oh,
a lot,
okay.
though. That's a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
words. They fed it the entire book and were able to ask questions about the book. What happened to this character in chapter 16? What did
Oh.
what did Gatsby say in chapter 5? What was the ending? Analyze it,
Yeah.
summarize it, whatever.
Yeah.
So I've experimented with Claude a little bit a couple of days ago, and so I made a video about how to write sales copy using this
Okay.
Claude. So if
Okay.
you want to find that video, I'll link it on YouTube. I'll link it in the show notes if you're interested, if you're a writer.
I'm quiet because I got a whole bunch of offline stuff for you. We don't have a lot of time tonight because we almost had dinner.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
yeah,
Well,
but
okay, so
I got a lot of we got some conversations to go offline.
for sure, yeah, we got some talking to do. So, all right, y'all, it's time for grown folks to go. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of Two Brothers Talking. I hope it's not another 2 months before we do. Can you believe next month is 2 years for the show?
Really? Oh my goodness. How we keep this going? I guess because it's fun.
Because
You
we're
know?
not really doing anything.
Got no agents. Nobody's saying you have to do it this way on this time.
It's
This
nothing,
commercial, this
man.
media
It's so
sponsorship.
easy. It's literally
Because
turn
it's
it
actually
on.
two brothers talking. That's actually what it is.
It's exactly what it is. It's literally just press record and start talking. And it's probably
Start
the easiest
talking.
show format I've ever done.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hit me up at KH_author on Twitter or or X, or go to my website and find out the latest that I'm working on. You know, Ajani's a shadow, so if you want to find Ajani, then come through me.
True facts.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Take care. See you next time.
All right, see you.